that this could have been mitigated, but the political ideology and the unwillingness to do what needed to be done is resulting in this fire being substantially worse than it should have been. Maybe it shouldn't have been at all.
In this video, Tim Pool discusses the devastating wildfires in California as well as DEI. Tim Pool also talks about Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, and the rest of the incompetent leadership in California. With that, let's watch Tim Pool lay waste to the state of California's incompetence in containing these horrific wildfires.
This is one of the reasons that freaked me out. And he was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind and fire's going to start in the right place and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean. And there's not a fucking thing we can do about it. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we just get lucky. He goes, we get lucky with the wind. He goes, but if the wind hits the wrong way, it's just going to burn straight through LA and there's not going to be a thing we can do about it. Because these fires are so big, dude. When they're talking about like thousands of acres that are burning simultaneously with like 40-mile-an-hour winds. And the wind's just blowing embers through the air, and those embers are landing on roofs, and those houses are going up, and they're landing on bushes, and those bushes are going up, and everything's dry. And once it happens in a way where it's so spread out that there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do.
You just have to evacuate, right?
Nothing they can do.
As I'm sure most of you are aware, LA County is currently dealing with some of the worst wildfires we have ever seen in this country. The Santa Ana winds, sometimes upwards of 100 miles an hour, low humidity, and dry vegetation has resulted in this massive disaster. We've seen around 100,000 plus evacuations and 5 reported deaths, and it's expected to get worse.
We are in bumper-to-bumper traffic right now as hundreds of people try to get out. You can see flames here on both sides of the road with very little visibility.
Many abandoning their vehicles to flee on foot.
Policemen started telling everybody, get out of your car, leave your car if you want to live.
A bulldozer brought in to clear a path, pushing dozens of cars out of the way. Smoke from the growing fire darkening the skies. This man breaking down, desperate to reach his dogs.
I've been trying to get to my house for 5 hours.
Later reunited, his house thankfully saved. Overnight, a high school up in flames. The fire hitting some of California's most famed areas, home to iconic houses and sites and many celebrities. Chris Pratt posting overnight, please send prayers and strength to those affected. James Woods
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
posting this video of the fires approaching his home. Beloved actor Steve Guttenberg among those stepping up to help his neighbors.
When things like this occur, you really realize how vulnerable you are and how important community is.
Scenes of unbelievable devastation and loss as the relentless winds fueling these fires show no signs of letting up.
Well, certainly environmental factors are playing a huge role. We cannot ignore the human factor. Donald Trump recently called for the resignation of Gavin Newsom, the governor, and many people are criticizing local leadership, including the mayor, Karen Bass, because they have failed tremendously to mitigate these issues and prepare for this disaster.
What in the world? The firemen don't have hoses, so they're like literally using purses, women's handbags, filling up women's handbags to put out fires. Look at this. What in the world? LAFD fire department using women's handbags to put out fires.
Right now, the primary fires raging through LA are the Palisades fire, the Eaton fire, the Hearst fire, and the newly ignited Woodley fire. This fire, which began near the affluent Pacific Palisades neighborhood, has grown to over 15,800 acres. It has destroyed more than 1,000 structures, including homes and landmarks, and has forced at least 30,000 people to evacuate. The fire spread rapidly due to the hurricane-strength winds, which have not abated, making containment efforts challenging. Near Pasadena, the Eaton fire has been particularly deadly, with at least 2 fatalities reported. By Wednesday morning, it had consumed over 10,600 acres, doubling in size overnight due to strong winds. This fire has led to the evacuation of over 52,000 residents and has damaged or destroyed numerous structures, including a McDonald's and the Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. Located in the San Fernando Valley,
First of all, I'd just like to encourage anyone going through this to stay strong and encourage anybody watching this to pray for everyone affected by this. This is, I haven't watched a montage like this of all the devastation. This is tough to watch. I lived in California, and I was very lucky not to ever have had to deal with something as awful, a tragedy as awful as this. But wildfires have happened in the past. You saw the clip from Joe Rogan at the beginning. What was it, a year ago or so, with someone talking about that something like this was inevitable. I'm not saying that you could mitigate all the damage from these wildfires, but it's not as if California has been unaware that how devastating wildfires are from prior experiences. So I don't know a ton about containing these fires, but when this hopefully ends soon, even though it doesn't sound like that's what they're predicting, but whenever this mess is over with, I think there needs to be some real accountability for the lack of preparedness, because that's why I said what I said. I mean, it's not like this is a new phenomenon there. How are there not better protections in place for all of these people? This is just, it's really awful to watch. Let's get back to the video.
We have the Hearst fire. This fire has also seen significant growth. Although specific acreage affected by January 8th was not detailed, it contributed to the overall strain on firefighting resources. And then we have the Woodley fire, a newer blaze in the Sepulveda Basin area. The fire has grown to 75 acres by Wednesday, adding to the emergency response. Late last night, it spread to the Hollywood Hills. As I already stated, at least 5 people so far are reported as having lost their lives, and over 100,000 have evacuated. But there is still some shocking footage indicating it's going to get worse. In one video from the Weather Channel, which I don't think you want to see, it may be depicting the charred remains of an individual who lost their life. This is an unmitigated disaster. Right now, over 1,100 structures and counting have been destroyed across LA County, including homes, businesses, and cultural landmarks. The Palisades fire alone has seen significant devastation in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods of LA, affecting even the grounds of the Getty Villa Museum, though the structures there remain safe. More than 1.5 million customers were without power due to the fires and the preventative measures like power shutoffs by Southern California Edison. This has compounded the crisis, affecting communications and emergency responses. Right now, fire departments across California have been called in to support local crews. 7,500 firefighters are battling the blazes. However, the resources are stretched thin, with some firefighters working up to 48-hour shifts.
Obviously, I have a lot of thoughts about those responsible for the poor preparation for these wildfires. Maybe I'll talk about it in another video, but it just seems kind of gross to politicize what we're hearing right now. All I can say is I'm praying for everyone out there. I'm kind of at a loss for words, so let's wrap up the video.
The inability to use aircraft due to high winds has further complicated containment. Now the question is this just environmental catastrophe? As we heard from Joe Rogan, was it just, sooner or later these winds are going to ignite the entirety of LA? Or could this have been prevented? I raise you, my friends, that this could have been mitigated, but the political ideology and the unwillingness to do what needed to be done is resulting in this fire being substantially worse than it should have been. Maybe it shouldn't have been at all. While we are hearing that they don't have enough firefighters or resources, we can cite this story. LA County fired 113 LA firefighters because they would not comply with the vaccine mandate. Or maybe it's because LA Mayor Karen Bass cut $17.6 million of fire department funding and gave $28 million to illegal immigrants. Or how about it's because LA gave surplus supplies to Ukraine. But don't worry, folks. California may be burning, but rest assured, we may be factually incorrect, but we are morally right.
If you've watched this channel at all, I'm sure you have an idea of what my opinions are about the facts that Tim Pool just read off and getting rid of firefighters because of the mandate and Karen Bass in general. But because I said I wouldn't make this hyper political, then I won't. But unfortunately it is, and I hope I get to talk about it in another video because I'm really itching to talk about it. But right now the priority is the safety of these people, and that's what hopefully everyone is focusing on. And like I said, third time I've said it, I know, but please pray for these folks. and just try to put yourself in their shoes for a minute. This is kind of a time when ideology doesn't really matter. You know, you don't wish this upon anyone, but we want to hear from you. What do you all think about these horrible wildfires and everything that's going on? Let us know. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching. If there are any viewers in California, please stay safe, and we will see you on the next one.